Welcome back to the Danny here. I'm joined by Dan Man and John. We're going to be talking about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Open discussion, open spoiler discussion. So we'll be going into details. Thank you for joining us, and let's get ready to have a good time. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We finally watched the movie. It came out. We spent some time talking about the movie, theorizing about the movie, making predictions. Some things that we spoke about was on point. Like, wow, there were some things that we thought, at least I thought, I was like, oh, that actually came out. Did not expect it. And then there were things where it was like, oh, I expected more. So who wants to kick this off?
Damn, man, you can start it. You were on point with everything. So
Dude, okay, so Dano, yeah, you know what? I want to hear from you first, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it. But if anybody wins the award for the biggest prediction, it has to go to you, man. Because while I think we all expected Wanda to kind of, towards the end of the movie, be a bit of a challenge for Doctor Strange, and maybe she turned, and I didn't see it coming from the very beginning of the movie, and the way that she was the actual villain, and dude, you kind of called it. It's funny because in the last video we recorded, I even remember saying like, "Damn, Daniel, you went dark," and it was just as dark as you called it, man. Like, she was straight out evil. She was the villain, and like, you really hit the nail on the head. So, I'm really interested in hearing what you think about the movie and about Wanda being the villain.
I enjoyed the movie. It was really good throughout, great pacing. It kept the momentum going for the most part. It rarely ever slowed down. So it was great to watch for those 2 hours. Wanda being the villain, I just got the hint of that from just the trailers. I'm like, all right, she's gonna be the Scarlet Witch. Like, they show her too much, like, with the red and all of that stuff. So I'm like, she's gonna turn and she's gonna be bad, because the whole thing about her losing vision and her children, her brother, like, she's never been at peace with any of that. And so it was gonna be what was gonna continue to drive her. I just assumed that it would make her, turn bad, be selfish, and want what she wants, and she wants it now. And and that's what ended up happening. And I also didn't think she was gonna be the only villain, though. Like, I knew she would go full blown bad, but I guessed that. But I also thought we would have got other villains, and like Mordor, for example. I thought he was gonna be a more formidable foe, and that wasn't really the case. Like, he wasn't bad, but like, I don't know, like, they didn't do more with him. And I was expecting that to be another challenge to not just Doctor Strange, but even to what's his name, Sorcerer Supreme.
Wong?
Yeah. And so I thought they were gonna do more. I didn't think I wasn't expecting Scarlet Witch to just be the only villain either.
A couple of things that disappointed me, but one of those things was Mordo. He was such a prominent character in the first movie. Mm-hmm. He was a great character. The actor played him phenomenally. We had gotten that after credit scene at the end of the first movie, and in this movie, he was just a variant, and his role was small, and it was. I felt like it was a waste of character and a waste of talent, But John, what were you gonna say?
No, I'm like, dude, he got stuck in the hole. He's a magician. You can tell me he can't get out of a freaking hole? Like, what is this? What
Yeah.
happened? The ball was dropped, definitely. And like, I don't get me wrong, I love the movie for what it was. I feel like they did a lot with a little, and I'm still in denial about Wanda because I really love her character, and it's really hard for me to believe after seeing her in WandaVision, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, she's gone through a lot of suffering, and it's, this can all be, it's like, she's pissed, she's not dealing with this stuff, she's suffering, she's still depressed, but it kind of completely goes against her character to turn this evil, because she had an idea, like, she had to literally kill herself in a different universe to be able to be with her family again, and she was okay with that. She was okay with killing and taking countless lives at whatever cost to make it happen. That's not Wanda, even after losing her family and all that stuff. So I feel like, yeah, the dark hole, they said, like, it takes a huge toll on the reader, right? I feel like there's something still there that we haven't been introduced yet, that they're going to explain in future movies on why is it so powerful, why, like, who is the creator of it, if that makes sense, or what's possessing her. Because they kind of hinted on a lot of things, like just nothing is done by accident in Marvel. Everything is done with a purpose, right? So it's like, for her to drop such a name like Nightmare, which is a villain in the Marvel comics, or even going back to, like, everybody's saying, oh, Mephisto, right? But I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like there's more that we're going to see in the future that is going to probably help make this movie feel a lot more like, oh, I see what they did there. I see why she went so dark from the beginning.
I think where it was a little hard for us to grasp the concept of her being the villain was that it almost happened off screen, right? Because when the movie starts, you see that there's this giant monster hunting down America Chavez for her powers. So Wanda has been hunting her for a while. Before the opening act of the movie, she was already the villain, right? So yeah, we had the WandaVision TV series, which we saw, okay, she was distraught, she was mentally unstable, I mean, that kind of gives you an explanation, but the way the series ended, it was as if she felt remorse. But then you had that after credit scene where you see her as Scarlet Witch, she's using the Darkhold, then she hears her children. At that point, it was like she went full heel, right? She became an evil villain. Like, let's just call it for what it is. She was evil. She was a villain. And we didn't see a build-up to it in this movie. She was just already the villain. And I'll say, when Steven was talking with her in her orchard of apple trees or whatever, like, when she mentioned America's name, I was like, oh crap. Like, and he said it, like, I didn't mention her name, or I think she said it. I'm like, oh, you never said her name, did you? And I'm like, yo, she's the villain. She's the villain from the very beginning. So I mean, I think that was a great twist, I have to say. Like, it caught me off guard. I really thought there was going to be a build-up to it, and then halfway through the movie, that's when she turned heel. But no, she was the straight-up Thanos of this movie. And in the last video we kind of spoke about, is this movie going to be as much Wanda's movie as it is Doctor Strange? And yeah, it totally was. This was, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but this was WandaVision, 2.0, because it was as much her story as it was his. And I have to say, while he was still the protagonist and he's the hero of the movie, his character arc and his progression throughout this movie, there was a theme to it, right? And it was about happiness, about being happy or content with what you have and where you're at in life, and that theme carried throughout the entire movie. But it also applied to Wanda, because Wanda wasn't happy with what she had. While Steven settled for what he had, she couldn't settle for what she had. And you kind of see this progression from the very beginning of the movie to the very end. And it was really interesting seeing that, because you've always cheered for Wanda. You always, liked her as a character, like, oh, she's the hero, she's an Avenger. And here it's like, wow, she's straight. And this is the thing, it really reminded me of the Avengers Disassembled storyline, because in that storyline, she pretty much did the same thing. She turned evil, she started killing Avengers, and at the end of that storyline, that's where we got the House of M. So I'm wondering if there's still going to be more with Wanda, because I don't think this is the last of it. I don't think her bringing down that those columns and that structure, I don't think she's dead. And at the very end, you kind of see a red light or whatever. Either she protected herself and put herself in a cocoon, or Daniel, I think you had mentioned this the last time we spoke, was maybe Magneto came in and saved her and pulled her out of the rubble at the very last minute.
I think that would be Vision, if anything.
Or Caucasian Vision may have come out at the very end and we didn't even see him. I don't know. But I have to say, so I was pleasantly surprised with the character of America Chavez. I think she was a very intriguing character. She was an appealing character. And I actually enjoyed her, and I didn't think I would. But what are your guys' thoughts on America Chavez? Do you think she was a good inclusion to the movie? Did she serve the story?
I think she served the story.
Yeah. I think her character came from nowhere, though. Like, it was just one moment she's not in the movie, we have no idea who she is, and the next movie, boom, she's there. Like, there was no leading up to the character. It was just Wanda somehow found out she's traveling the multiverse, and the fact that there's only one of her in the whole multiverse is kind of weird too. Like, I think it makes sense. They're gonna have to explain on that a little bit more on why, but or how Wanda even found out about her, honestly. But
well, it had to be through the Darkhold, right? Like, yeah. I'm sure that as she was using the Darkhold to travel through multiverses, that's where she was able to see that America Chavez existed, because America must have been traveling through multiverses, right? Later on in the movie, she tells Doctor Strange that she's been to, like, I don't remember the number, like 74 or whatever. So Wanda must have picked up on her and realized, like, oh crap, like, she can travel to multiverses, and utilizing the Darkhold, I can absorb those powers. And at that point, that's when she started going after her. And I think, to that point that you mentioned, this is where I feel the movie could have been a little bit longer, because they needed to flesh out a couple of things, right? Like, this movie started a mile a minute. Like, it started with alternate Doctor Strange or Defender Strange and America just running for their lives from this creature. And it was like, okay, let's just get to the story. Which I get it, but I feel like there were a couple of things they could have fleshed out a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, yeah, obviously as fans we can figure that out, like how Wanda did everything. But it would have been nice to see, that development of the story, rather than just going in. Here she is. Now this is what she can do. Now let's move on. It's like, like that. One thing that like kind of upset me about the movie, like, I was just bothered. I felt like some of the little jump tactics from like the Evil Dead movies were a little bit too much. It was used too often, and the sounds and all that stuff. And then I think the actor's name is Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, my man did not need to be in that movie whatsoever. Like, I understand. Like, they did an Evil Dead cameo in the movie rather than doing something else. Man, that was kind of upsetting. Like, I would like to see Toby there with the pizza balls and be like, pizza time, something.
Yeah.
But why Bruce Campbell? Like, I was like, come on, dude. That was so, for a movie that's supposed to be coming out that says like, oh, it has the most Marvel cameos in any Marvel movie to date. Where are those cameos? Like, it was a few characters, and then you go through like super 1 second split screens of the different universes. Like, I got the Savage Lands, Xavier, Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, Photon or Captain Marvel, Maria Rambeau, Captain Carter, which was awesome. But it's like other than that, like I was expecting more because it was hyped up to be more, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not let down really. It's just like, okay, cool, I'll accept it for what it is. But I don't know. I just felt like we expected so much more and we didn't really get that.
So let me ask you guys this, right? After watching the movie, and not to take anything away from him, but do you guys feel that Sam Raimi was the best choice to direct this film? Going from Derek Robert, I think the last director's name was Derek Robertson, because he did an amazing job in the first Doctor Strange movie. But going from him to Sam Raimi, do you guys feel like he was the best choice to direct this film?
I like again, I really enjoyed the movie. That's not me saying that the movie wasn't great. It's just I feel like the tone was different, which I did enjoy the scary parts of it, you know, which I don't even know if you can call it scary because it was kind of like just jump things, suspense,
Jump
I guess.
tactics.
Yeah, but I felt like it was just utilized too much. And then the movie was a little too short. And then the story was very straightforward. Like here you have this villain that has this one goal and that's it. There's nothing else. It wasn't like a normal Marvel movie where there's a lot more going on currently and they're setting up things in the future. So I don't know. I really enjoyed the first Doctor Strange movie a lot. I think if I were to say right now, I would enjoy the first one more than the second one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I really want to rewatch the second one. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Dan, man, thoughts on Sam Raimi?
Well, like Jonathan, I also want to just rewatch this one because it's a good movie for what it is. I think that, like, I also agree with you that it should have probably been longer. I don't know. There's probably the script should have maybe been different. Like maybe it was just the story that was written was just you know under Raimi's direction just ended up like it. I do think they should have just done. The movie should have probably been directed by the guy who directed the first film, because a Sam Raimi movie is a Sam Raimi movie. It's not really a Doctor Strange movie. If you understand that makes sense. Like, there's just things that Raimi does that to make it his own that I think kind of overshadows what the movie should be, as opposed to like him just leaving his mark on what the characters are and visually what we're gonna see, I guess.
You know, hearing about all the reshoots and all the changes that the movie went through, you can kind of almost feel it throughout this film. Like, there was a bit of inconsistency here, and there potentially could have been a whole different movie than what we got, because the movie was called Multiverse of Madness, and the multiverse was more of a setting versus an actual plot or part of the story. If that even makes sense, right?
Yeah, they went to
the
one other
multiverse
universe.
Yeah, it was the multiverse was used more like a tool versus being the
Part of the movie.
story element.
Yeah.
So, the next question for you guys. So, let's talk about Illuminati. For what it was and for what we saw, what were your impressions on seeing that version of the Illuminati? Did they serve an actual purpose? Did it make sense? Did it work out? I mean, I have to say this before you guys even answer. I loved the Illuminati versus Wanda. That to me was probably the best part of the whole movie.
Yeah, that was the highlight.
Listen, there was always the question of, who's more powerful, Captain Marvel or Wanda? We now know that it was Wanda. And, you know, if Brie Larson and Elizabeth Olsen, as their respective characters, went toe-to-toe, we know Wanda would win that fight. But that being said, what were your guys' thoughts on the Illuminati?
Dude, like, my favorite part of the whole movie was just, I got what I wanted, you know. John Krasinski as Reed Richards. When he came out and he used the technology, which was awesome. He didn't stretch like he did in the second scene. Like, technology was one of his abilities, one of his skills. I was like, oh, that's a great entrance. And then the
because
way
he
played the
teleported,
character,
right?
yeah, dude, I was like, oh, that was so the smartest man in the universe, or whatever they introduced him. I was like, that is so sick, dude.
Yeah.
And they really, the little bit of scenes that he had, they really developed on, like, that was the only thing I could say that they're showing what's to come, because I rewatched it a couple of times on YouTube and all that stuff. Like, they're dropping hints on, the 60s line that Doctor Strange told Richards. The fact that he mentioned his family and he has kids, which is huge with like mutants and stuff like that. But I just love the way he played the character. He was really chill. He was mellow. You can, with seeing him within a few seconds, like, that's the character. He's not trying hard whatsoever. Like, that's Reed Richards.
And he had the scientific talk.
Yes, you can believe it. That's what I mean. Like, the character was so believable. Like, there was no question that that's Reed Richards. That's who he is. Xavier was great, and especially I love that he was literally wearing the animated cartoon show's outfit, like the suit, the green suit with the blue and striped tie, and then the floating levitating chair. That was awesome. Black Bolt's costume was on point too. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was cool that they brought the guy back from the show, but I don't know. I just have fan casting. Like, I would like to see other actors play that, but we don't know what the future holds with these characters. Are they going to come back, or if that was like a one-shot done? I do want to say that I think Mr. Fantastic or John will come back in the future for sure, out of all of them. Captain Carter, sick. I really liked her. She was awesome. They killed her off horribly, dude. They chopped her in half. But I really hope to see like another variant of her in the future too. Captain Marvel, that was really cool. She definitely tricked me, because in the trailers I thought it was Tom Cruise Iron Man for a while. But I liked it. I liked that whole scene. There was so much of that scene that I probably rewatched it a couple more times to catch even more stuff within the dialogue and all that.
I agree with Jonathan that the Illuminati was the highlight of that film. Like, seeing all those characters and the interaction, the dialogue between them was really awesome. The deaths were amazing. It reminded me a lot of Invincible, when those heroes all got killed off one by one. I was thinking the same thing as I'm watching it. I'm like, oh man, they're going full blown like gruesome killings here, and it was really cool to see. Captain Carter was awesome. I don't know what she was thinking throwing that shield. I'm like, you're never gonna hit Wanda. Like, by the time that shield gets to her, she's already stopped. She's stopping it every single time. Like, just stop throwing it. But all the deaths were really cool, really unique, and I was just like, oh, that was really creative. Like, that was really cool. Except for what do you call it? Marvel. I think they could have gone on a little bit longer, because she is pretty strong. But ultimately, I put my money on Scarlet winning that fight, no matter what.
I know. I agree with you on that one. That was the only death where I was like, because she's so powerful of a character. I'm like, you're just dropping a statue on her. She can take that, dude.
Because the movie was only 2 hours long, I feel that was another one of those things where we need to end this fight, and the quickest way of doing it is dropping a giant statue on her, right? And who knows? She might just be knocked out and not dead at all, right? Like, we saw her hand just fall over, but that doesn't necessarily mean like she dead. I think I will say this. I don't know if you guys had a favorite death, but the one that I thought was just like, was Xavier. The way she killed Xavier, and that was one of the jumps that I didn't mind at all, because it played beautifully. Like, you see the smoke coming, you're kind of expecting it, but once you kind of get Wanda just with this disfigured face and grabs his head and just like snaps his neck, that was awesome.
I agree. That one fit perfectly.
Was awesome.
That one played out perfectly. I would say the favorite death for me was Black Bolt. They totally went a Matrix route on that guy. That was hilarious. My man was like, Bolt, and you see his whole head cave in. Um,
His fall he shatters.
and then the way he falls over was just like ruthless, dude.
Yeah, yeah, that
Um,
was insane.
yeah, dude. I do feel though like Reed Richards' death scene was kind of like another one of those it was rushed because they shredded him to ribbons. Like do something, freeze him and then
Yeah.
blow him up. Do something different. But the whole ribbons and then the popping in, I was like, this whole movie felt like an Evil Dead movie. Like just like with those little cheesy, corny things here and there, and the jump scares and the comedy, and then the darkness. It was like, oh, I've seen this before, you know.
Yeah.
But overall, like it was great, man. You know, it is what it is.
I'm still talking about the Illuminati. They were so true to the Illuminati in comparison to the comics, because in the comic books, the Illuminati were the ones who decided to cast out the Hulk and shoot him out to outer space. But in this movie, they were the ones who decided to kill off Doctor Strange, which was that scene. It was a little devastating to see, because Doctor Strange saved the world, saved everyone from Thanos, which was a great little cameo of Thanos. I knew he was going to make an appearance, and he did, right?
Yeah.
Granted, he was dead, but he was mentioned throughout the movie. Doctor Strange saves everyone, all of the universe, and the Illuminati takes it upon themselves to kill him, right? And that death scene was kind of hardcore, because it was Black Bolt who ended up taking, the killing blow, and it was pretty deep to hear him say I'm sorry, and then all of a sudden you see the sound waves just completely disintegrate Steven, which like that scene played out beautifully. I thought that was a great scene with the Illuminati. That's why I really loved the way they played out Xavier, because Xavier ended up helping out Doctor Strange, and
I didn't agree with it.
Yeah, and he tried to help out Wanda. I really wish they would have never hinted at Xavier in the trailers. I wish they would have never shown, Captain Marvel in that one scene. There was stuff in the trailers that was like, you should have not shown any of this, because this was the surprise of the movie.
Yeah, nobody knew. Like there was no leaks, there was no hints to that at all. They're the ones that showed that in the trailer and came out with it.
Yep.
Like everyone thought it was some other complete different character. I thought that scene with Mordor walking by was Blade, because that threw me off completely. I was like, oh, that's just him, and I knew he was in the movie. So like, yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like they showed some things in the trailer that did not need to be shown. It would have been so much better if it was a secret. Like Reed Richards, they didn't show him, thankfully, or Black Bolt, but Xavier was a big one too. A huge one, I would say. I agree with that. But real quick, before I forget, you mentioned like the Illuminati taking these actions like they do in the comics, right? With that universe having like that futuristic style to it, and majority of their strongest heroes being dead and killed off, that would be a great universe for them to introduce like Mastro's version of Hulk, because he would fit there so perfectly. The Illuminati gets rid of him in the past. Now he comes back with the vengeance, and he's going to start killing because there's a bunch of other heroes that haven't even shown, but some of their strongest heroes that would fight against the Hulk or put up a fight are gone. You got Strange, Xavier, Black Bolt, like, Hulk is going to take on all of them. So it would be cool to see that. And then him being able to fight, bring in the multiverse issue like they did in the comics, where we have our Hulk fight that universe's Hulk. I feel like I really wanted to see the comic book version of the Illuminati, but I do understand why they didn't show those characters. And it's because I feel like our universe 616 is definitely going to have their own version of the Illuminati, and it's only a matter of time. Because in this phase, they're developing so many different teams: Midnight Suns, Young Avengers, New Avengers, so I feel like that's another team that they're going to start creating. So yeah, it's cool. I like it for what it is. I just hope that they move forward with these ideas and not just like, oh, that's the only time we're going to see the Illuminati. You know what I mean? Because now that they started it, I want to see our version of it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, same here.
And I feel like this movie, Wanda's a mutant. They haven't confirmed it yet, which, well, we don't know why, but she's a mutant. And it would have been cool for Xavier to tell her that she was a mutant, but he didn't. That was a missed opportunity. So, like, watching this movie, I do feel like they're kind of really starting to push towards the mutants, you know, showing all these little cameos and all these little things that are hinting to it. I just really hope that we see a different version and it's not anything like the Fox X-Men's. But I want to see Marvel start off with like, you know, and I keep going back to Wolverine because he's one of my favorites. Is like show him in the past, you know, show him, you know, growing up and going through all these wars and fighting alongside Captain America and not even knowing because he had to keep it a secret. He didn't want
Mhm.
everybody knowing that he was a mutant. Show him being helped by Bucky as Winter Soldier breaking out of the Weapon X program, you
Mm.
know, and then show the Savage Lands. Show I think his name is Quasar or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, Kazar. Yeah, yeah.
Kazar, you know, show those and show like how mutants have always been within the MCU, but they've had to keep their abilities a secret for their own well-being, you know, and Wanda and Pietro, her brother, like figuring out that their father that they were raised with wasn't their biological father. Some stuff like
Yeah.
that would be really cool to start explaining because they got to start developing these characters, you know, like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like those are all missed opportunities within this movie that they could have easily taken a couple minutes to show. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even more explanation on the eye, because like one thing that confused me that I caught, and we talked about it, was the Eye of Agamotto, right? Strange, that was broken in Infinity War, I think, or Endgame when Thanos took it.
Oh
So
yeah,
how is it
Infinity War.
fixed? Yeah, so how is it fixed? What's its purpose? He uses it one time in this movie, and it has magic.
Yeah.
So, and it's holding his cloak together now because this is part of his cloak. But it's like that's such a big important piece in the comics. Like, what is it now? Is it just an accessory item? Like, what is it? Is that third eye that he's developed from the Darkhold now considered the Eye of Agamotto? Because if you go back to watching the first movie, the Ancient One touches him in the forehead, right where the eye
Yeah.
is, and it says, "Open your eye." So they have to kind of like explain what that is. You know, I don't think
Yeah.
it's evil. I think it has more to do with like something more into the sorcery realm, you know, than it being
Yeah.
something from the Darkhold.
Yeah.
I
So
think
yeah, I
the
just want them to touch on that.
Yeah, I think the way the movie ended also hints that it's more for him to develop that eye, like that it's gonna enhance his powers and all of
Yeah.
that.
What do you guys think of the after credit scene?
Who was that?
So
I know it's Charlize Theron. You know, she's
Clay,
up.
Clea,
Yeah,
Clea.
but who
yeah,
was he?
Clea. Yeah. So I have to say when they showed Charlize Theron, I was super pumped because I love me some Charlize and never thought in a million years that she would be coming out in a Marvel movie, let alone Doctor Strange. But she's playing Clea. She in the comic books, I don't know if MCU is gonna go down this path, so it's not really a spoiler. But in the comic books, that's Stephen Strange's new love interest. They end up getting married and everything. The thing is, and again, I'm sure they're gonna change things up, but she's actually related to Dormammu. Um, in the comics. So at the end, when you see her tear a hole in space, and on the other side you see the dark dimension, it hints at Dormammu
Hmm.
being where they're gonna go, or they're gonna interact, or maybe he's the villain for the third movie because again, she's connected to Dormammu in the comics. I think she's like his niece or something. Is weird. She's super powerful in the comics. Like she's really up there with Strange, so that's kind of exciting. But do you guys at least like the concept of Charlize Theron playing a Marvel character?
Yeah, I think she's a great actress, so it would be cool. And it's a cool character. It's something I have no idea about the character at all. That was the first time I had to do some Google and searching, you know,
Yeah,
to figure out who that was. I was like, oh,
yeah,
I like it though. And I definitely agree. Like I'm convinced that that's going to be his new love interest because of the fact that they closed the door with Christine. You know, she's married,
yes.
she's happy. The husband came off as a good dude. He's a fan of Strange. That was pretty funny. Um, so yeah, I think they closed that door. I think they're gonna move on, and they kind of opened it too with the ending where he comes out and he's refreshed. It's a new beginning. You know, he's fixing his watch, and he's okay with it. Um, So yeah, I'm excited to see that, and it would be cool to see that she's actually going to betray him at first, and then she falls in love with him.
But before we wrap up this video, do you guys have any final thoughts about the movie or what you want to see next with Stephen Strange?
I know we hit a lot on like things that we were disappointed with, but to end it off on a positive note, I really enjoyed the movie for what it was, and the actors did a phenomenal job. Like I really love the heroes. Wanda, she better be still alive. So,
Yeah.
which I'm confident she is, and Strange, and I really want to see the future of what holds with these characters, and I just want to see more of them. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be really cool to see if Strange is the one that comes up with the idea of creating 616's universe as Illuminati. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, that's a good
and
theory.
because he's like, okay, we need this. You know, I've seen it fail, but we need to do it better.
Yeah.
And including the original from the comics, like Black Panther, Namor, some form of Iron Man that we don't have anymore. So, um, but yeah, just seeing that, and then Wanda is going to need to make some big redemption in the future. You
Yep.
know that, or she's just going to come back even more evil. But I think she'll be good.
I really enjoyed it. It was a good movie, solid. Uh, I think the expectations were just, way too high, especially coming off Spider-Man's No Way Home movie. So, we got to see a lot of stuff in that we thought would carry over into this, as far as like seeing alternate versions or more, more characters than we saw, I guess. And but overall, it was good, and I liked I liked all the characters, even Wanda being bad. Like everything was cool, uh, and I'm glad that at the end, Doctor Strange ended up in a good place. Um,
Yeah.
the like you mentioned earlier, the theme of the movies sort of they kept asking like, "But are you happy?" And
Yeah.
he, in the end, you see him doing. And again, this goes back to Raimi making his movie, like putting his footprint into things. He had Doctor Strange come out at the last minute, walking like Toby did Peter Parker when he was giving everybody the finger gun, walking on the
Raindrops are
streets.
falling on my
Yeah,
head.
like, and I thought I was like, oh god, if Doctor Strange starts dancing and stuff, I'm gonna lose it. But luckily, he didn't do that, and he's just in a good place, and that's great for the character because I'm sure when they come out with the third version, something's got to disrupt that.
Well, just like you guys, I enjoyed the movie a lot. It was a lot of great action, a lot of awesome special effects. Um, the one thing I will say, we didn't speak too much about this, but we'll speak about it more in future conversations. Is they mentioned the incursions, and incursions is a huge thing in the Marvel universe because that's the first hint at Secret Wars. That's what the whole storyline about the most recent Secret Wars was about. It was about the incursions and the different realities crashing on one another, and what the Illuminati had to do to prevent that, and how everything turned out because they failed miserably. So I think the Marvel universe is going to be pushing that, is going to continue the whole story and the plot of the incursions, and we will see Avengers Secret Wars in about another 10 years. But it's happening, it's coming. And I'm glad they mentioned it in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But that's pretty much a wrap for this video. Thank you guys again for joining me. It's always a blast, chatting about movies and talking. And, for the viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving thumbs up. Leave that thumbs up. So feel free to share this video. And until next time, that is a wrap for us today. Talk to you guys later.